What is disciplinary literacy? In the article, What is Disciplinary Literacy? Disciplinary literacy refers to the shared ways of reading, writing, and reasoning within academic fields. Each discipline has its own unique ways of asking questions and solving problems. As it states in our text, disciplinary literacy is also the third growth phase of Shahan and Shahan's model of progressing literacy instruction. How is content reading different from disciplinary literacy? According to the article, How does disciplinary literacy differ from content area literacy? Content reading refers to the basic set of strategies that students use to read and respond to text with little variation being made across content area subjects. On the contrary, disciplinary literacy skills support students in moving beyond the general reading strategies as they develop specialized practices for making sense of discipline-based text through reading, writing, and oral language. It also notes that teachers often combine the two to support students as they read and respond to text in different disciplines. Is disciplinary literacy necessary? Yes. Disciplinary literacy teaches students to move beyond the use of general reading strategies towards the use of specialized reading practices. Each discipline represents ways of producing and communicating knowledge differently. It also teaches ways of thinking about text and developing reader identities for each discipline. Disciplinary literacy in science. We first want to look for topics that interest students. You always want to look for things that are going to keep them engaged and interested in what we're reading. You want to get students engaged about research. You also want to teach students to read like scientists. You want to teach them the vocabulary that the scientists that we use in science. You want to guide the students to evaluate data. You want them to be able to read a chart or a graph and interpret the data that they receive from that chart or graph. And you want them to be able to explain what they have seen. Strategies for disciplinary literacy in math. You want your students to be able to use information to piece together a solution. In math, there's numerous amounts of word problems that the students will have to learn how to solve. And you want them to be able to look into a math problem and get the information they need from a math problem and come up with an answer, the correct answer. You want them to be able to look for patterns and relationships. Like in math you have addition and subtraction. You must first learn how to add before you can subtract. You must first learn how to multiply before you can divide. You want them to be able to decipher symbols and abstract ideas. Of course, you want them to be able to ask questions and feel comfortable to ask questions. You want to apply mathematical reasoning as well. Strategies for disciplinary literacy in history. Author's perspective and bias or sourcing. You want them to be able to use source. You want them to be able to use multiple sources. You want the students to have reliable sources. You don't want to have anything that is not real. You want them to be able to determine what the author is trying to tell or ask them or tell them through the text. You want them to be able to find bias and talk about it. Time period and contextualization. You want the students to be able to um, find things in the past and um, to see how it affects our present and our future. So you want them to know that relationship as far as time period. Corroboration of multiple perspectives and documents. When you're studying about the Constitution, you might want to have that ready and available for the students to look at. You might want to use different texts and different articles. That way the students can see different perspectives. And use rhetorical constructions. Disciplinary literacy in my classroom. I'll use multiple texts because the students need to see different perspectives. They need to know. They need to know different texts beyond what they have in that class for that time period. They need to know, have different texts for math and different texts for history and science. I want my students to know that their input matters. I want them to know that them to know that this lesson is for them. I want to know their likes and their dislikes, what they're interested in, and I want to include that into the lesson because I want them to be engaged and I want them to get the best education. We would have open discussions. We would talk about what we read, and I would want my students to feel comfortable and open up and talk to me about what they read so I can know if they are retaining the information that we're talking about. And I will be a mentor. I will model for my students what it is like to read like a scientist or a mathematician or a historian in my classroom. I hope you enjoyed this PowerPoint.